We are here in the matter of State of Arizona versus Hunter Blair Stanfield. Mr. Stanfield, can you tell me your full and correct legal name?
Hunter Blair Stanfield.
And what is your date of birth?
2004.
Thank you.
The objection is regarding the separation of powers doctrine. Judge, I think that the legislature in this case has overstepped its bounds and handcuffed this court from considering all the what I would consider pretty substantive mitigation that's even come from the side of the state's case prior to today. I understand minimums and maximums and mandatory minimums even, but
Mr. Collins, would you like to respond to that argument?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So the argument is noted, denies that argument or rejects that argument. Certainly the issue is preserved for appeal.
Gail is my mother and Chase is my stepfather. Since October of 2022, I have struggled with anxiety and panic attacks that are triggered when I cannot get a hold of the people I love. Every day is hard. My mom was my best friend. She was my person that I could call and lean on no matter what it was. As a mom, I want to protect my children, comfort them when they're sad, listen when they're angry, but this wound I can't fix with a Band-Aid and a kiss. Competed in her first Arizona State cross-country race. When she crossed the finish line, she was so happy and proud of herself. But later that evening, she cried because she couldn't share that moment with two of the most important people in her life. I have 2 voicemails that I'm grateful that I saved just to hear them say, "I love you." I have a sweater of my mom's that I keep safe because it still smells like her. I want justice for Gail and Chase. It will give myself and our families the first step towards healing. It won't bring them back. And like a shattered glass, we can pick up the pieces and glue it back together, but it will never be the same.
Chase was my son. Hunter's my grandson. Hunter, you've broken my heart and taken so much from me. There's an emptiness that I feel that will always be there. I'll never again get a big bear hug from my son. I'll never get that out of the blue, unexpected phone call from him just because he was thinking about me, or to ask me the name of a flower or a plant that he might want to get for Gail. I'll never get to go for a walk or sit and just have coffee with him. I'll never get a text or a phone call from my daughter-in-law asking for my advice on something or to get my recipe for one of Chase's favorite dishes, or to tell me about a hike that they had taken and what they had seen. But also, Hunter Blair, you've taken yourself from me. I'll never get to see you become a husband or a father. You won't be with us for Christmases or family gatherings. In Ephesians, it says to forgive one another as God forgave you. I've thought a lot and prayed about this, and I feel that I need to forgive you. But Hunter, I do forgive you. And I pray that you can be honest about what you've done and seek out God's forgiveness for you.
This is kind of a unique situation in the law, and in Gila County we don't have many homicides, and anyone that has suffered loss understands the pain associated with it. So the court's got to consider today whether to run consecutive or concurrent. And the only comment I'd make on that, Your Honor, is the verdict has to matter. I'm a little aghast at some of the comments made in the pre-sentence report by the defendant and the position he takes. Absolutely zero remorse. Maybe he maintains his innocence. I don't know. This is not a situation where his life was being threatened or that he needed to defend himself. Chase traveled more than 4 hours from Phoenix to kill his parents. Hunter not Chase. This was not a spur of the moment. This was clearly planned. And he can be angry at his parents for whatever abuse he believes that were thrust upon him. There's actually no evidence of any of that. Oddly enough, he had two sets of grandparents that would step in and take care of him. We have the letter from his grandmother, who expresses remorse for maybe not having taken him back to possibly prevent this. I'll maybe try to give her a bit of comfort. We don't have control over intentional acts of others. And playing the I should have done game does not make anyone feel better. But we had grandparents that would have stepped in. The testimony from the witness stand during trial was that Janine and George were essentially financially supporting Hunter. They probably would have listened to him had he come to them with abuse. They probably would have helped him. That would have been a much better solution than ambushing his parents late one evening because of some perceived past abuses. Ultimately, Your Honor, we'd ask that the court run these sentences consecutive because the verdicts have to matter.
But Hunter's still a young man. He was born the same year I graduated from high school. And we don't have here a repeat offender or somebody that was in high school and was ever even remotely stopped for a traffic ticket. His mother certainly was not in his life. That his father, may he rest in peace, was in and out of his life, certainly when he was very young. There was really only so much that he could bear because, number one, of his age, number two, what we've seen in the letters that mention his character and his childhood, and then number three, if the court will be patient enough with me to let me switch back to the law, is that if in 20 or 30 years my preservation of error is sustained, then he might get to be resentenced, and I would like his sentences not to be stacked. So the defense rests.
You get to have the last word before you are sentenced. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay. The defendant, of course, gave his birth date today for identification purposes. The significance of that, if a person commits first-degree murder and they are not 18 years of age, then they actually do have, depending on the age of the victim, they have a possibility of being released after serving either 25 or 35 years in prison. Everybody kind of scratches their head and says, well, why? Why did this happen? And I don't know that we'll have answers to why this happened, although much of the defendant's preparation for each murder was the same. In other words, he concocted a plan. The evidence suggests he concocted a plan while he was at college. He still committed separate acts to kill two people, two victims. He shot several times, and I believe it certainly was multiple gunshots in each victim, but I believe it was 3 gunshots to each victim. The other thing that I'll find is the defendant took advantage of the trust that he had established with his father and with his stepmother as a family member. I'm going to find that the defendant got the murder weapon from his nearby grandfather's house. That action of actually using his grandfather's gun and then replacing it where he got it, it's conceivable that that action could have caused his grandfather to be a suspect in a double homicide case. Although the defendant was not charged with theft of his stepmother's Jeep, the evidence in this case leads to the conclusion that he stole his stepmother's Jeep after murdering her. Because he has just one life to live, would be the same had I ordered concurrent. But in this situation, I think the prosecutor's argument that the verdict has to matter, I think that makes sense. There are 2 people who died, 2 people who were ambushed, 2 people who didn't deserve what happened to them that day. And so the sentences should be consecutive. Often when we sentence people, they have a whole bunch of criminal history. He has none. First degree premeditated murder committed October 25th, 2022, a class 1, non-dangerous, non-repetitive felony. It'll be the order of this court that the defendant be sentenced to the Arizona Department of Corrections for his natural life. I will order that he receive 1,114 days of credit for time served, as credit for time served probably doesn't mean anything either, because his sentence is for his natural life. But I'll give him credit for that time. 2, first degree premeditated murder committed October 25th, 2022, class 1, non-dangerous, non-repetitive felony. I'm going to order that the defendant serve a natural life sentence in the Arizona Department of Corrections. I'm going to order that this sentence, count 2, run consecutive to the sentence he's received for count 1. Because of that, I'm not going to give him any credit for time served on count 2. Your grandmother mentioned that basically, despite all of this, she hopes that you can find some meaning in life, even though you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. And so that will be your world for the rest of your life. Maybe the appeal will be successful, but and with that, that will conclude the sentencing today. Thank you, counsel, for your arguments today.
A shocking Arizona sentencing hearing reaches its devastating conclusion as Hunter Blair Stanfield faces punishment for the premeditated murders of his mother and stepfather. Family members deliver heartbreaking statements, while prosecutors argue the killings were carefully planned. Despite his young age and lack of criminal history, the judge imposes 2 consecutive natural life sentences, ensuring he will spend the rest of his life in prison.